Nik Mirkovic, you're 27.
Yes.
You started a company called HiSmile with your business partner, and you were 19 years old.
Yeah.
8 years later, I'm sitting in one of the nicest offices I have seen. I thought my office was nice. Now, I don't know if I want to go back to my office. And he started a company 8 years ago. It was obviously an idea. It was originally teeth whitening product that she was selling. And without not knowing too much about business, you guys had a great idea, researched the market, and just went for it. 8 years later, company is really international business. Nik, how did it all start?
Yeah, well, like you said, 8 years ago, I was 19, Alex had just turned 21. And it was the time where a lot of our friends were whitening their teeth. So that's why a lot of people are like, why teeth whitening? How'd you get into teeth whitening? How wasn't it something else? It was random timing. A lot of people were whitening their teeth, and we saw a big problem where not one person who had whitened their teeth wanted to go back and recommend that service and do it again. So for us, it was like, that's weird because they're getting these results, but they're not happy with it because they have a lot of pain, a lot of sensitivity. It's not a pleasant experience. So we were like, okay, there's an opportunity, there's a market for this. Being young, naive, not really understanding how big this problem was.
And this was your first business?
This was the first business, yeah. So I was playing football before that and was just a waiter and sort of just making money on the side. This is my first business. And yeah, young, naive, we jumped headfirst into it, trying to tackle this problem, realizing that the problem wasn't a key ingredient. So in teeth whitening, peroxide is the primary bleaching agent that's used to whiten your teeth. We Googled a heap to try and research and find out what we had to do, what else was on the market. We ended up stumbling upon a few labs around the world that were formulating peroxide-free alternatives. So we picked up the phone, jumped on a call with a number of different labs just to talk to them what they were doing, how they were doing it. And we landed upon a lab in the EU who was formulating peroxide-free products, which we ordered samples of, and they were amazing. They worked really, really well, but they didn't really commercialize the product. This wasn't on the market yet. So we were like, okay, great. We'll order a heap of the formulation. We'll package it, we'll brand it, and we'll get it out to the market and see what happens. When we received the product, we're obviously being self-funded. Like I said, I was working as a waiter.
Yes.
We've saved up about $20,000 between us. Bought stock, not really
which is still a lot of money when you're that age, because most people that are 19 and 21, they're actually not even, used to saving money. Every dollar they make, they actually spend. So for you guys to work hard to that point and save that amount of money and then put it all into the business, it was a big deal.
100%. And I think on that, like with the savings, for me, that's from a young age, I've always been just like super dedicated and focused, whether it's playing football, whatever it is, I've got a goal. It's like, I want to achieve that. For me, it was like, I wanted to save money to do something in the future, whether it was buy a house or do something. For me, that was always my mindset. So I would do, as a waiter, I would do the shifts that no one wanted and do extra shifts and until I couldn't do more. So like I would work every Christmas almost illegally, as many hours as I could take up the run shifts, because instead of getting paid $20 an hour, I was getting paid $60 an hour.
Yes,
so for me, I'd take on all of that. But yeah, saving that money, putting into business and realizing, look, we've got all this product, but we don't have money to market this product.
We need to sell it now.
How do we sell it? And then, yeah, for us, we were like, okay, what we're going to do, we're going to send this product to target the east coast of Australia. Let's start local. It's cheaper to ship. We're going to send it to a bunch of people who we believe had an audience, had influence on Instagram. And this was obviously, of course, before influencer marketing became popular.
Yes.
So for us, it was DMing hundreds of people around Australia, probably sending the product to about 20 to 30 people.
And also every time you send it, it's costing you money as well on the start.
It costs you money, of course. And for us, it was like, yeah, again, no one was really doing influencer marketing. There was a few brands doing a bit, but for us, it was like, let's send it to a heap of people who we thought had influence, just to try the product, just to see, give us feedback, give us their thoughts. The product looked really cool. We knew it worked really well. So we're like...
And the name was great.
The name worked as well. And it stood out. So we sent it to people and you just started getting this feedback, but you also started getting people sharing the product. Whereas I think if we started today, we sent it to heaps of people. People would see it, they'd use it, they might even love it. But to try and get someone to share it today is a lot harder.
Yes.
But back then it was a new novel thing where people were like, this is great. I'm gonna put it on my Instagram, on my feed. Obviously, there weren't stories then, so everyone was posting on their feed their smiles, this kit, and
Yes.
and
I remember they had a color, they had a light in it as well,
Yeah.
and they were looking cool.
We had the LED light, the pink lips, so it stood out. And he started seeing traction. We see someone post, we see 2 people buy. You see another person post, you see a couple more people buy.
How exciting was you to see a first proper sale?
Amazing. That for me is like, me and Alex, we always like humble ourselves and take ourselves back to the start or take ourselves back to tough times. It's like that feeling of excitement.
Somebody bought my product.
Actually,
what do we do now?
It's proof of concept. They bought it, they love it, they bought again, and then that's really, really exciting. And that kind of just snowballed, and we started to then take that up. And obviously, I think year on year for us, like we were saying just before we joined the podcast, was we started with obviously trying to get the product out there and seeing proof of concept. Year on year, we've been able to invest more on marketing and branding and getting sharper on that side. But more importantly, we've been able to invest more and more in product development. And I think that's what separated us from everyone else is while everyone just goes, I'm going to pay this influencer or put more money towards this piece of content. It's like we're doing that, but we're also putting money aside and investing in
It's a big circle. So it doesn't matter, how good your marketing is, but if you don't have actually quality product, people can buy it once or hear about it once.
Exactly.
But, if you don't have a good product, they're not going to keep coming back again or tell everybody else about it.
Exactly. And it's so easy to get caught up because being young, naive, you see sales, it's so easy to just double down on what gets you those sales and just go, we're going to hammer this and just do this.
Which is a typical attitude of young entrepreneurs when they're starting as well, because they see something working, then again.
Just focus on that. And for us, it was like, okay, we'll do that. But at the same time, we need to make sure we're building the back end of the business. We're getting stronger there because if we want to get to this next level, we want to become $1 billion brand. We want HiSmile to dominate the oral care and smile care category. You look at the likes of Colgate and Oral-B who have been there for years. Why can't we become that? So for us, it was like, yes, we'll invest in the marketing, but for us, we have to build a strong back end. We have to develop our products in-house. We have to develop the best products. We have to be able to test all of our products to the highest level. We have to have an amazing supply chain logistics team to then overcome any problems, and then we can actually compete.
And all this started growing quite fast as well. And once again, that was your first business as well. So, before that, you were not used to hiring staff, firing staff, buying products, paying for people, so all this was new to you as well. So, right now, if you're starting a new business today, you already went through that hardship of startup.
Yeah.
So if you're starting something today, you already have the knowledge how you can do things better. But when you're starting as a first business, it's just so much unknown in front of you when it comes to just running a business. And you guys survived first couple of years. And I always say first couple of years was the hardest as well. And then the next thing is we see Kardashians having your product. How did you start going that big with influencers back then?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that's when we started the business because they go, the business has been around for 4 or 5 years because when Kardashians post, that's when we got mass awareness.
Yes.
But yeah, it was a slow, steady growth to get to. And I think it's one of those things where even if you had the money, it's not something you could start with because there's so many unknowns and you're just not ready as a business. So for perspective, the first influencer we paid was the influencer that came off of Big Brother. So a reality TV show was based on the Gold Coast. We're like, okay, this is the first influencer going to invest a couple $100 in.
Yes.
It's an advertisement. With the product's working, the product.
So you were testing it even on influencers that are not as big as Kardashians.
Absolutely. We wanted to get, we had smaller influencers, which today people call micro influencers, but for us it was just people of influence who had a couple thousand followers. We're like, we want to take that step up. This person's come off Big Brother. They align with our brand. We've sent them the product. They like the product. Now we can start talking sponsorship. So we're like, okay, we'll test it. We get the influencer. The influencer puts together their piece of content. It goes live and our website crashes.
Yes.
We're quickly on the phone because at this time we had very little infrastructure. We had one person working in our customer service team, one in the warehouse, and that's it. We're like, we were speaking to our agency to get the website back up and running. We didn't understand anything about the back end of a website, about hosting a website. So we had a lot of teething problems throughout it all where we lost a heap of money because we weren't ready for growth, we weren't ready for scale. But yeah.
Which people don't see. When people see your company from start to where it is today, they just see this fantastic company growing. But what people didn't probably realize or don't realize that you guys were like freaking ducks. Your legs are fucking paddling.
Very much.
Like there's no tomorrow. Even you're smiling on the top, but you're like, fuck.
Very much so. And then, yeah, one step to another step. And for us with the Kardashians and Conor McGregor, for us, it's always been about getting the product in the hands of the people first.
Yes.
Before we start talking about sponsorship and anything, it's get the product in the hands. What's their reaction to the product? Do they like this product? Do they love this product? And then we can start talking, and that's sort of where it went. We went from there. We then put something together, put a deal together with the family, and then, yeah, the rest is
So
history.
when you, obviously, which is probably really important, that you kind of had a good training before you went to massive influences. You know, you said you were operating for about 3
Definitely.
years before you had somebody like Kim Kardashian, which is probably the great thing, because imagine you start business today and tomorrow you get Kim Kardashian, she's taking your company, you'll collapse straight away.
You might not have enough stock. You're then overpaying for air freight.
Your website wouldn't be live.
Your website.
It would be crashing. Everything would be,
Yeah.
you know, so it's good that you had that training when it comes to growing, experiencing difficulties with smaller, you know,
Absolutely.
or micro influencers, whatever we call them these days, before you actually went to that big step.
Absolutely. It's very, very important. I think everything we've done, like for us, it's always been important to, even before we hire people, to taste and test it ourselves.
Yes.
We don't like to just go, just give that to someone pay someone who can do that and let them do it.
Yes.
For us, it's about tasting and testing every part of the business and being involved in every part, because we have to be, my legal understanding isn't the best. My financial understanding
Yes.
isn't the best, but I'm dangerous enough to be able to be in the conversation. For us, it's not out of sight, out of mind. We don't just go, hire the best person, they'll sort it out. Because for us, we're passionate about it. We want
Yes.
people to be passionate about it. So we have to be able to have those conversations. So on the influencer front, we had to be involved in understanding, learning, seeing what works, what doesn't work, who we want to work with.
How hard was for you to get in touch with Kim Kardashian back in the day and Conor McGregor?
Yeah, like both very, very difficult. I think the Kardashians was slightly more difficult. That approach for us was, we realized where our brand was going, who our target market was, where our product was at, and we wanted to, obviously, for us, it's always about getting the message out there, awareness out there. If you're selling the best product, but it's a secret.
Even I would be excited if I was, you know, getting in touch with Kim Kardashian, would be like, holy fuck, can I meet you first? I want to interview you.
No, it was very interesting, and we started working, like I said, working our way up, and funny enough, we worked with one of Kylie Jenner's best friends.
Yes.
As on a deal, she liked the product. We started paying her to advertise the product. That connection then led to obviously the family, phone calls. We did meet with Kris Jenner and her team.
Yes.
To obviously talk through things, because for them, again, it's about working with the right brands, working
Yes.
with brands that they trust, believe
Because
in.
they would have million companies that would be reaching out to them.
Absolutely.
So, you know, even for them to say yes to your product, doesn't matter how much money you're paying them, has to be a good product. Otherwise, they kick you out. Otherwise, you won't even meet them.
Well, it's just not for them. They've got such a reputation where it's not a good look for them, for their brand. They've got their own brands as well.
Yes.
So for them, it's about working with the right brands, which we obviously learned. And then, one thing led to another. And with Conor McGregor, we started working with him just before the Mayweather fight. So he was already on the rise. He was already big. I couldn't find out how to get to his agent at the time. So we reached out I called their gym in Ireland.
Yes.
And they obviously kind of just turned it, they didn't think anything of it. But then we started telling them about who we were, who we'd work with, how we're working with people. And then that led one thing to another. So I just said, look, I'll send a bunch of product. Nothing has to come of it, but I sent the lady a product. I sent obviously Conor and his team a product. And then I get a call back from an Australian guy who's his agent. He's from Perth, Tim. We just start talking. We start talking about that. They love the product. They start talking about what we could do, and one thing led to another, and it was awesome, because especially the McGregor one, because for us, we were into the UFC. We loved the UFC.
Yes.
We were following his journey, and for us, it was like a pinch yourself moment where we then got to kind of be a part of that journey. We went to 3-4 fights.
Yes.
We're working together, and it was awesome.
Throughout this conversation, it's no secret you're so passionate about what you do. You know, how important is passion in business as well?
To me, that's the most important thing. One of the most important things. I think if you don't truly love what you do, and you're not fully invested in what you do, it doesn't matter. You can make money not being passionate, but that's not going to last forever. If for you to have sustained success, for you to make money as a business, to have sustained success, to be able to grow a team, to be able to take it to the next level, to be around for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, you have to be passionate and love what you do. Because I think if you don't love what you do, the team's not going to love what you do. The business is going to get further forward. You can last 2-3 years, but beyond that, it's just not going to really take off.
Which is interesting. Before podcast started, I asked you a question. What's the end goal? You're going to sell the business? You're going to take it to stock market? And your answer was, we will not sell our business. And we're not going to go to stock market. We're just loving what we do. We just want to explore different avenues of the business. So clearly, you really are passionate about business in general, but specifically about HiSmile as well. Because most people, if they're working hard and somebody offers them $50 million, they'll jump on it, and that's the end game. You guys, there is no end game. You just want to keep going.
100%. Well, I always picture myself, it's like it's easy to get tempted because obviously we're the profile of the business, the offers that you would get. It's easy to get tempted and go, oh, that would be amazing. But for us, it doesn't even come close to consideration because every day I wake up, I'm excited, I'm energized, I'm pumped, not just for developing the products, not just for selling the products, but it's everything together, building the team, seeing the people here every day. For me, it's like if you had no skin in the game, if I had no skin in the game, I sell the company, but I'm still involved. I'm not as passionate to move that thing forward. Whereas for me, myself and Alex, we've got skin in the game. Everything we do is blood, sweat, and tears. Every decision we make is a risk, but we love that because it's on our own back, and we get to, if that works, great. If it doesn't work, great. We know what we want to test. We know what we want to get to, and as long as us and our team are aligned in our vision and our goal, we think we can absolutely achieve it.
Which is interesting. When I was talking to you a couple of days ago, and he said, look, can we do interview 8 a.m.? I said, no problem. And I came here this morning. I was here about 7:40, and you have a quiet big car park, and all of the car park was almost full. I was like, okay, this is interesting. Either he's got night shift here happening. And then I walked in, and I was actually talking to a few of your staff. They actually all love coming early.
Yeah.
And you come early because a lot of people, when they do taste a bit of money, clearly you guys are wealthy enough, if I can say that, financially, but you guys still work hard. You're still in the business early, and I'm assuming you don't finish at 12 o'clock either. Yeah. So the team culture you have built, how important is culture at work? So
important. Like my background, I love football or soccer. I played that my whole life, and I think you learn a lot through team sports. I've been in good teams, I've been in shit teams that have won a lot, teams that have lost a lot, teams that love each other, hate each other. Even you see it in families and business, of course. But I think from a young age, I really learnt what drove success, what drove good cultures, which teams we had that when the chips were down, when things were going your way, but you could still get a result, or you could still end that game and be together. And I think learning that from a young age, seeing that, witnessing that, being a part of that, made me realize how important a team and a culture is. We've made decisions, everyone has, when you're hiring and you hired the smartest person or the best person, and you were talking about it before. It's for us, every single time we get it wrong is when we hire someone based on the piece of paper, based on their experience, based on where they've been. The time we get it right is when you get a good gut feeling from the conversation, when you really are vibing with that person, when you look them in the eyes, you know what they're saying is true, you know that they're willing to jump through a brick wall for you and do whatever it takes. That's the person that you really want here. And that we've our longest serving Justin has been here for six and a bit years, and that was him. He was a marketing intern, and he's grown to become the general manager of HiSmile.
Yes.
He had no experience with retail. Now that we've expanded there, with working with professionals like dentists, but he's helped us expand our retail arm. A full-fledged distribution arm is helped us get into over 100 dental clinics around the country. And that's purely because when you're willing to do something, you're willing to learn, taste it, test it, and then get better with it.
I always say, give me great attitude, great energy. I will take that over anybody that has finished 5 university degrees,
100%.
We were talking about one gentleman that we both know. I'm just going to call him Peter, who's 74 years old. And I asked him, Peter, what is the key to not just business, to life success? He said, Emil, energy. You got to keep that energy when you're 20, 30, 40,
Absolutely.
50, 60, and 70. I went fishing with him. He's age 74. He's got more energy than I do. You know, he's people catching big fish. He's pulling that fish like there's no tomorrow, and he was full of life. You know, when you have that great energy and great attitude, also reflects on other stuff as well. You know, if I'm passing one of my staff and if they're miserable at the table, I want to quit my own business.
100%.
You know, so it is important. What's harder, growing business to successful platform or keeping it there? Because we had a conversation that it's so hard, business is hard. Whoever thinks it's easy, they're living in a la la land. It's so hard to build business, to make it profitable, to make it successful, and then it's hard keeping it there. What do you think is harder? What do you think is more challenging?
I think definitely keeping it there, because I think there's so many overnight success stories. I think you can throw money at something, you can get lucky, so you can get that meteoric rise. Even you look at, if we take away from business, you look elsewhere, you look at people who get big on social media overnight, quickly. They become one hit wonders. How many people release one song, make millions, and then they go to the
You
bottom?
don't know who they are next day.
Exactly, and I think that it's not easy to get that success. Don't get me wrong. There's a formula to get attention and to get big and to grow, but it is so much harder to sustain that, because when you get to that point, people who are smaller than you, people who are bigger than you are coming for you.
Yes.
People are aware of every single move you're making. People from inside, people from outside are looking, and there's different things you're dealing with every single day. Like I said, we built the business off obviously different product in the market and a smart way to get that product out there. But to sustain the business, everyone thinks, oh, you're the Kardashian brand, but there is so much depth to what we do. Look at COVID, for example.
Yes.
If we didn't have a proper supply chain and logistics team internally, a brand like ours may not survive COVID. I've seen a number of brands drop off who were bigger than us, better than us, more profitable than us, but they dropped off because they didn't have the right resources and they didn't have the right people internally to overcome those supply chain headaches and understand how to pivot as a business. So for me, it's one thing to grow a business, but for me, it's much, much harder to sustain it and then continue to truck along and get bigger and bigger and bigger and better and better.
What do you think is the biggest challenge in business in general?
Biggest challenge in business in general, I think there's a few. For us, I think when I look back at it at the start of the business, it's easy to get a wandering eye. So it's easy to look at what this person's doing, what that person's doing, and want to follow that journey. But we had temptations when we were much, much smaller to kind of get that wandering eye and let's try that, let's do that. But for us, it was always brought back, and I was very lucky that it was both myself and Alex in the business, so we could keep each other in check. I think being young, it's hard if we're on our own to sort of have the other person to pull your head in a little bit and say, no, we need to focus on what we're doing and bring ourselves back to our goals. So I think having focus can be very, very difficult, especially early on, because you're always looking at what other people do. You're the small guy and going, we need to get there, or we're the small business. You look at, when we're smaller, you look at a Gymshark and you go, oh, but they're doing this. Maybe we need to start doing something like that.
Yes.
Whereas we're in a different category, a different journey, a different life cycle of our business, and we're doing it differently. You can't assume things from the outside. Things obviously look much easier from the outside when you look at someone else, what they're doing.
But even they're pedaling.
100%.
We're all pedaling.
Everything looks easy and nicer and better. So I think always to have that perspective and not to get the wandering eye. If you get the wandering eye, have perspective on what you have is different to what other people have. They have problems, you have problems. They have challenges, you have challenges. So,
and I think it's also one thing that is really beautiful to see yourself and your business partner, Alex. You were friends before you started your business, and then you started your business together, started growing it. Alex got married now. You're getting married soon. It's actually beautiful to watch that journey as well, because really you two were freaking kids when you met each other. You're still freaking young.
yeah.
And to also grow together as friends who didn't know what the fuck were they doing when they started their business, to starting the business, to actually see, even having a relationships and getting married. I think the journey is beautiful, and quite often I talk about how important is to enjoy that journey. Even when you probably look back as well, everything was beautiful. You starting your business, having a first sale, making mistakes, hiring people, losing faith in some people, having every issue. It's all part of the journey, and you gotta, everybody wants to have a beautiful times and no headaches and no issues. But then, how soft would you be if you had it all easy and
Exactly.
and clean as well? There's a lot of, look, social media has made a lot of people have access to information so easily. You can find things about people on social media, you can Google them, you can Google any idea, you can search for any information. And quite often I think, oh my God, we are living in such an amazing time because we have access to information so easily today. Imagine 30 years ago starting HiSmile, there was no internet.
Very difficult.
There was no mobile phones. How do you market? There was no Google.
Exactly.
It's the only way you can market anything back then would be newspaper, radio, and TV. Do you think it's easier to start any company, any business in general today than it was even 10 years ago?
I think it's definitely easier to start. I think to start, there's very little you need to start. To become successful, that's a different question, different story. I think it depends on the industry you're in, what you do. I think back then and now you've got different challenges to grow. Like I think there's different challenges, but to start a business, I think it's easier today. But to grow the business, I think there's different challenges. Because it is easier, you've now got more competitors, which means that's tougher. Whereas back then, if you were able to get that start, the growth wasn't as difficult as it is today, if that makes sense.
100%. If there's another Nik out there who's 19 years old and who is dreaming to be where you are today, what advice would you have for that Nik?
I think first and foremost, you have to understand who you are as a person, what makes you tick. I understood, again, back to football, that's built a lot of my base of who I am. I'm passionate, I'm competitive, and I'm very, very driven and determined to get to where I want to get to. That's my characteristics. Not everyone's built like that. If you're built like that and you're passionate and you can find your way, find something that gets you up every single morning. Find a challenge that's big enough that you're not going to find a goal that's big enough and scary enough that you're not going to achieve it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. You can be, like I've always said, me and Alex, this is something that we're together for life. Like this is 100, however long I live.
So your real wife is Alex.
Well, my partner's name is Alex as well. And my
really?
Alex, so
you're stuffed, buddy.
I've got a lot of Alexes.
You can't get rid of Alex in your life.
No. But yeah, if you're passionate, you're hungry, I think find something that you can sink your teeth into and really grind at every single day to get to that next level, to grow to the next level, because that's what's going to keep you motivated and energized every day. You said it before about Peter and about energy. Whether it's business, whatever it is, you need to find what makes you tick. We don't call it work-life balance, it's work-life harmony, because I don't come to work, or even the team here doesn't come to work and then switches off.
Yes.
That's your life. Whether you like it or not, we're thinking about it 24/7. If you want to go somewhere where you go in the morning and when you leave, you can leave all the problems there, that's a different conversation you have to have with yourself. You want to find yourself a position, whether it's in business, whether it's working for someone, whatever it is, where you wake up and you go, how good is this? Every problem I'm thinking of, all the good things I'm thinking of, everything in between just gives me energy and gives me life. That to me is when you're set, and that's when I think you're fully fulfilled. It's not about the money you make. It's not about anything else. It's about waking up every single day, and it's not necessarily about being happy every day, because the hard times, you have to enjoy those as well. It's not just enjoying the sunshine and rainbows. If you enjoy the challenges that come with it and the problems and solving those problems, you're fulfilled. So
what's next for HiSmile?
Next for us,
because you guys are not just teeth whitening product. What do you guys do right now?
Yeah, so we started as a teeth whitening company, realizing the problem and trying to solve that problem is obviously an ongoing mission.
And used to be only online.
Yes.
No longer.
No longer.
I mean, online is still there.
Correct.
But
so we built our brand. We've expanded now beyond to multiple retail partners around the world. So we're currently in just over retail doors globally. That's going to be 20,000 by mid next year. Retail doors.
That's a big
push. Jump. And a big part of that is expansion in the US. So we obviously sell online in the US, but we're about to launch into retail in the US next year. We've just launched and dipped our toe in the UK. We're about to triple the numbers in the UK. So retail's a big play for us. So that's a new experience. Again, we talk about, you look at the big names in smile care and oral care. You have to be accessible. You have to be where the customer is.
And some people are old-fashioned like me. They still like to go to
Absolutely.
Coles and Woolies and buy
Absolutely.
something physically there.
Absolutely.
You don't want to miss out on any market. I'm guessing that's where you guys are heading.
100%. You have to have access to customers. And then from even a product perspective, a development perspective, teeth whitening is a small segment. It's a big market, but it's a small segment of the pie. For us, it's about, we see what's happened in skincare and hair care and the passion that the consumer has and the investment that the consumer makes towards their skin and their hair. But when you look at your teeth, you go to the shops, you pick up a $2 toothpaste that you've always used because you've always used it, and you don't think any more about it. Whereas you get your teeth, you get your set of teeth, you have to take care of them. And I think we want to make smile care the next skincare and the next hair care where people truly want to invest in that asset. And invest in that smile. So for us, it's not just about having teeth whitening problems. We need to solve all problems for every customer. You've got your customer who just wants to brush their teeth, so we have to have an entry-level product for them. We have to be accessible to them. So we have to have the product, we have to have the right price point, and we have to be where the customer is going to be shopping for that product. We then have the top end of the market, the customer who wants to whiten their teeth professionally with a dentist before an event, a wedding, whatever it is. We also have to cater to that as well. So we're in, like I said before, just over 100 dental clinics around the country, and we're expanding rapidly in that space with our own in-office whitening technology and whitening formula that the dentist has to administer, the dentist has to apply. So you look top to bottom of the market. We've opened up new doors and new avenues for the business to grow and get to where we want it to be.
But which is still interesting, you still kept to your core business, which is really teeth.
Yeah.
Anyway, you look at it,
Absolutely.
But it's not just one product. You actually wanted to have almost everything within there.
100%.
So, next 5 years, Nik is going to be 32. I mean, okay, let's say next 10 years because you're still freaking young. So next 10 years, do you see yourself, or next 100 years, do you see yourself ever retiring?
Nah, not retiring. I speak to my parents about that all the time, and they're the same. I think I look at I see people in my family, like grandparents, for example, when they stopped working.
That's when they really aged.
Yeah, that's when they started aging. And when I say working, it's not necessarily working in an office or working for someone or even doing your own business. It's keeping your mind stimulated, I think, and keeping active. Like you said, you went back home recently, and I think even when you go to villages and stuff, you still see people interacting, engaging, and talking, and playing cards and playing chess, and that you lose that here. I think when people get older here, they almost segregate, they close, they stop speaking to young people, they stop walking around town, they stop physically working. Like my grandfather, who still lived, he passed away recently, but he lived back home over in Europe, and every single day, he had a farm, so he had to maintain and work on that farm. He didn't have someone come and
he probably started every single day with a shot of grappa as well.
Has a nice shot of rakia, and then starts a day. So, and that's just the way it is. And I see that, and it's like, that's me. For me, it's like I have to always remain stimulated, active, and working. I think for me, I would never want to pack my bags and just travel and close my
in a way,
mind.
I think you are retired because a lot of people see work as work, and they see it, okay, I work now, and the next 10 hours I'm gonna, I don't know, do sports or do whatever they want to do. I truly see work as, it's not work, it's what I do. You might play soccer for 10 hours or go fishing, even I love fishing. I love and I enjoy creating, improving, managing, hunting, everything that is part of my day, work-wise, if you want to call it like that. It is my fun. It is my fun. I love going to my office. I love seeing people in my office. I think life is more interesting, because at the end of the day, if you're just going to think to yourself, fuck, I can't wait till I retire, then you're really going to waste 40 years of your life to actually get to that point. One thing I will say, you work hard, you and Alex, you have created successful business, but your feet are so still on ground. I mean, when I reached out to you, all you had to say, sorry, buddy. You know, you were always nice, engaging in conversation, and even seeing you walk around your office, saying hi to your staff, you know, the way you dress, I'm not saying you dress really shit, but you don't have a suit traditionally and a freaking tie. You're very humble, you know, which is really good to see, because unfortunately a lot of people, as soon as they start making a little bit of money, ego hits the ceiling, you know, doesn't feel like that with you whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I think maybe that's the way I'm raised. I think having amazing people around me, like at the end of the day, my father's my father, my mum's my mum, my family's family. I don't think now, because I do what I do and I've gotten to that scale and that level of independence, for me, it's still family's family. Alex has the exact same values with his family. Families are close. I think that always keeps you grounded and humble, and it doesn't matter if it's my little sister, who it is, they can still tell me I suck. They can still tell me I'm shit. Alex's brother, and that's why I think we've got such a good relationship. If we can have arguments, like I argue more with people that I love than people that I don't know, because at the end of the day, people I don't know, I've got no investment with.
I think you're the kind of person you probably argue with yourself more than anybody else. You know, you first challenge yourself before you go anywhere.
100%.
How often do you visit your mum?
We see each other probably 3 times, 4 times a week.
Good.
Yeah, we see each other a lot, and my grandmother as well, she lives around the corner, and I go there at least twice a week for dinner.
Good.
So yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
I think that the family is very important. You know, business will always be there. Could be HiSmile today. In 20 years, you could be running whatever you want to be, running 100 times bigger. But, you know, in 20 years, there's a good chance you might not have your grandma.
Exactly.
You know, and when we are hustling in our work all the time, sometimes, you know, I'm guilty probably as well, and a lot of us are. We are guilty of spending that quality time with loved ones, and a lot of times we realize that when it's maybe too late. I will never forget, I got an amazing uncle, and he said one thing that he regrets about his father, my grandfather, is not spending enough time with him. And when we look back, you know what? You can spend time with your mom. Nobody says that you can't go there for lunch. You know what I mean? And nobody says you can't call your mom and dad. So, you know, I'm a massive believer in, you know, being so close to your family. You know, because that's the end of the day, you know, the most important part in our family, in our life, I guess.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more.
What message do you have anybody who wants to start anything today?
I think you said at the start about passion. I think find that passion, be passionate about it, find that passion and go for it. I think
Go for it.
You have to go for it. I saw you made a story about that, I think yesterday or the day before. I think a lot of people and think about whether or not they should do it. I think go for it, hit it head first, and then the rest, the body will move. If you start running, your legs follow. You can't stop. I think you'll figure it out on the go. Go for it. Don't be afraid. You only live, this is called one life. I think you only live one life, and it's important to realize that and recognize that. You said about family. Once they're gone, and you have to remember that every day. And same with your life. You're only getting older. Take that opportunity and go for it.
Nick?
Appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.